What if I told you burnout isn't actually caused by how much you have on your plate, but by how disconnected you are from yourself? If that lands, you're not alone. So many high performers are doing everything right on paper, but still waking up wondering, is this it? Welcome back to the Higher Alignment Podcast. I'm Minty Lam, and I help high performers and executives heal burnout so they can feel energized, present, and fully aligned without sacrificing their success. In this final episode of the High Performer Reset series, I'm breaking down the exact strategy that took me from feeling exhausted and disconnected to building a life that actually feels as good as it looks. We're talking about what burnout really is and the 3 levers that will help you finally get to the other side. And here's the truth. This isn't about more information. It's about finally having the capacity to apply it. So stick around because by the end of this episode, you'll know exactly what's been keeping you stuck and what it actually takes to change it. All right, guys, welcome to the finale episode of the High Performer Reset series. So if you've been following along, thank you. I've gotten lots of great feedback from you guys, which is awesome. And if you haven't, I encourage you to go back because what I've been doing for the last few weeks is recapping what my life was like before when I was burnt out versus now that I've done the work and I've learned how to regulate my nervous system and heal my burnout properly, okay? Life has looked completely different, to say the least. Even yesterday, well, it wouldn't be yesterday now by the time this comes out, but I did a post recently about how my life has changed so much since I've done this work. And if you would have told Mintu 5 years ago that this is the life I'd be living now, I wouldn't have believed you, but also that version of Mintu wanted it desperately so bad, but this would have been too much freedom for her, which sounds crazy because that's all I wanted, but I wouldn't have known how to handle it. I would have panicked. I would have freaked out. I would have sabotaged it in some way. It took a specific strategy and working with my nervous system to get me to this point where I'd be able to hold this level of freedom. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you that exact strategy, okay, as best I can in an hour here, right? Because the reality is this work, while I'm going to give it to you through a podcast right now, has to be put into practice. It has to be put into action. High performers are the most intelligent, self-aware group I know, but I know when I was burnt out, I would listen to every podcast, read every book, consume all the information I could, but I didn't know how to get to the other side of it. Right. And that's because I knew how to take in the information. I didn't have the capacity to put into play these changes to get my life to where I am now. So yes, you are going to need some energy to make these changes. And that's why the strategy matters so much. Because if you try to throw yourself into these big changes, if you try to throw yourself into like leaving work early and setting boundaries and all these things, like the reason you haven't been able to turn the leaf so far is because you're not using the right strategy. Okay. So I'm going to give it to you as best as I can today through the podcast. But again, my recommendation is not my recommendation. The only way for this to work is for you to actually put it into practice, okay? So I'm going to give you the 3 levers that I pulled that made the biggest difference in my life and that got me from that place of, looking successful on paper, but waking up every morning asking, is this it? To now living a life where I recapped it yesterday. I'm engaged. I've moved out to a country near the lake. I finally have nice weather. I'm looking outside. I'm a published author. I quit my corporate job, started my own coaching business. I've traveled the world multiple times with my own schedule and didn't have to worry about when I had to come back. Healed my relationship with food. Like just so many incredible things have happened in my life because of this work. So let's get into how we do it. Okay. Now, what I'm going to start off with is first, we need to clarify what burnout actually is, okay? Burnout is not because you have too much on your plate. It's not because you don't love the work you do. It might be a part of it, but that's not the root of it. It's not because you're broken or you can't handle it. The root cause of burnout is disconnect within. Okay. So I use this visual with my clients. If you're watching this on YouTube or we put this clip out there, you'll see what I mean. But the reality is we're multidimensional beings. We have a mind, we have a soul, we have a heart, we have a body. Okay. These are all part of who we are as humans. Okay. So burnout happens when there's disconnect, which means there's the version of you that's in your truest, most self-accepting form, which means you feel free, you feel light, you feel grounded, you're doing your best work, you feel happier, lighter, content. We all know when we're kind of in that state. And then there's a version of you that's showing up every day that if you're in burnout right now, feels exhausted, feels overwhelmed, feels completely disconnected and isolated from the life that you're living. And when that connection point between those two versions has grown and grown and grown, you have this gap in between. And that gap in between is where the perfectionism and the control freak and the cranky pants and the poor sleep and the addiction and all these things, those creep up when that gap exists. Okay? So the process of healing burnout is not quitting your job, is not completely changing industries altogether. That might be a conversation for later, but for actually healing the burnout, it's closing that gap between who you're showing up in the world currently as and who you actually want to be. Okay? Finding that alignment, bringing those two versions into alignment with each other. Okay? That's the process of healing burnout. Now, you might be saying, well, Minty, what does that look like? Like, I don't even understand what you mean disconnected inside. Like, I'm with myself all day long. Like, how am I disconnected? Okay. Well, that's what we have to find out. Because like I said, maybe this job isn't in alignment with you. Maybe it is time for a career change or a move or something like that, right? But you don't want to make that decision from a burnt out place because when you're burnt out, you're quite literally at your most debilitated state. You're not thinking big picture. You're not seeing all the paths and opportunities in front of you. There's something called your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for high-level thinking and problem solving and creativity that quite literally is shut down when you are in a dysregulated state, when you are burnt out. You don't have access to it because your body goes, she doesn't need that right now. He doesn't need that right now. So we're going to shut that down, right? And we're just going to keep all the other things going that actually she needs or he needs to survive. Okay. So then if you're going to make a decision about a career change, which is a pretty big decision, like, wouldn't you want to make that with the most intelligent part of your brain online? I think so. Right. So that's why a lot of people will come to me at that point feeling like that's the only option they have is to leave. And I always tell them we'll revisit this question of whether this job is right for you or not. But we're going to do that once we've gotten you out of burnout, because I promise you it's going to be a much clearer picture then. And you're either going to be like, absolutely, it's time to leave. And I feel so empowered in this decision. Or you're going to say, wow, like, no, I'm actually really happy here. I just needed to tweak some things. Okay. So that's the process of healing burnout. So again, how do we create more connection though? If I'm with myself all day long, like, what do you mean I need to connect with myself more? Okay. The first step we need to do in reconnecting with yourself is learning the inner workings of your nervous system. Okay. So these 3 levers that I implemented that completely changed my life, I'm going to give them to you now. The first lever is learning to understand the signals of your body and your nervous system and how it communicates with you. Okay. So before we get into that, let's just really understand what our nervous system is. So your nervous system, and I'm going to give this to you in as simplest terms as possible today, guys. Okay, I don't want to make this too complicated because you don't need to know the complications of the inner workings. You just need to understand how yours works and how it communicates to you, okay? But your nervous system is essentially the system that's responsible for keeping you alive, okay? There's the autonomic nervous system, there's the central nervous system, but the nervous system is responsible for how you breathe, how you digest food, how you move, how you see, and most importantly, again, its primary responsibility is to keep you alive. So it's constantly scanning your environment for threat, okay? The nervous system doesn't care if you're happy, you're healthy, you're growing. It just says, how do I keep this human alive? That's all it's designed to do, okay? Now, our nervous systems are millions of years old. They've adapted and adapted and adapted through generations. But we're not actually that far removed from when we used to live out in nature in tribes, when our humanity was a lot simpler, let's just say, okay? So at that time, when we were in danger, it was usually quite literally something physical, a bear chasing us or a tree falling or a fire, very obvious physical threats, okay? And so what happens is when your nervous system is scanning the environment, it's constantly doing that all day long, it will, when it sees something, so for instance, let's say a bear coming, it goes, ooh, What's the earliest, or what's the database that we have on this? What's the reference points we have in our software regarding a bear chasing us? Oh, dangerous. Okay. So now we need to react in some type of way to protect ourselves. Okay. So the nervous system is, how do we say this simply? You're either in a regulated state or a dysregulated state, okay? There's actually 3 technical states that exist for the nervous system. You don't have to remember these, but I will give them to you now. And that is the ventral vagal, which is when you're at safety and regulation. There's sympathetic, when you're essentially what we call in fight or flight, which is what a lot of my audience is typically in. And then there's the dorsal vagal, which is freeze state, which essentially means you're immobile. So when we go back to the bear chasing us, your nervous system's going to scan the assessment of the threat, and it's going to say, I need to respond in one of these 3 ways, okay? I'm either going to play dead and hope the bear runs past me. That could be an option. I'm either going to activate and run away from the bear and hope it doesn't find me. Or if I'm really in safety, I'm just going to sit there and play with the bear. Unlikely, because it's an actual threat. Okay. But your nervous system, with everything that's happening in a day, it's picking one of those 3 things to respond with. Okay. Now, where things have gotten tricky is in this day and age, our threats are less physical. Of course, there can still be physical threats. That danger is existing out there. But what we're actually inundated with is more psychological and emotional threats. Okay. So that can be something, a threat can feel like a nasty email coming in from your boss. It can be scrolling Instagram and seeing terrible images of war. It can be someone disagreeing with you online on your political views. Like, all these things are psychological and emotional threats. So what our nervous system has had to do is evolve to now take these in and scan these. The problem is A, we're being inundated with them. It's happening all the time. Back when we were living in tribes, you maybe had a bear chase you once a day type thing. Now, the minute you open Instagram, there's 10 pieces of content that are extremely disheartening and dysregulating and stressing to your system. So your body is reacting in a stress response all day long. It's constantly in this dysregulated state, okay? Now, what happens is, with today's world, we're constantly in a dysregulated state, but we haven't been taught how to come back to regulation. We haven't been taught to come back to safety, okay? And so what safety means is that our body has detected that whatever around us is happening actually isn't a threat to us. It doesn't have to go into protection mode. It can be more relaxed. It can be present in the moment. It can let its guard down. Okay. But again, the challenge is why so many of us are dealing with burnout is because we're constantly being dysregulated. We're constantly being hit with this stress that our nervous system's detecting, and we don't know how to tell our nervous system, like, hey, it's just an email. It's not a bear. Hey, it was just a thing on Instagram. It's not a bear. Okay. So this is what I'm going to give you the process of to fix today, but I needed you to understand those basics first. Okay. Your nervous system is the gatekeeper of your life, okay? Because what happens is it works so well that when it's protecting you for something, it puts up this wall, okay? But that wall not only keeps out the threat, it keeps out good things too. It just keeps everything away because it's like, well, if I'm protecting myself, I just got to protect myself. I just got to keep everything out, right? It's not saying like, oh, this one's nice, I'll take this, and this one's nice, I'll take that. Oh, but you shoo. It doesn't work that way. It's just a wall that goes up, okay? So what we need to do is we need to learn to work with our nervous system to realize that a lot of these things aren't threats. We can let the threshold down, and therefore we can actually expand, okay? This is how we heal burnout. Okay, if you're an executive who's craving more clarity, happiness, and a sense of real inner peace in your day-to-day, make sure you hit follow so you never miss an episode. This show is here to help you lead, succeed, and actually feel good while doing it. And if something resonates today, give it a like and share it with someone else who could use a little bit more calm in their life too. So now let's get into the 3 levers. So the first one I mentioned, we need to learn to understand the signals of our body, okay? That was the biggest first step for me. Now, what does that mean? Again, when your nervous system is dysregulated, it's going to communicate with you in certain ways. When your nervous system is regulated, it's going to communicate with you in certain ways. Okay. So for me, when I'm in regulation, I feel loose. My body feels more relaxed. I feel free. My mind is present. It's not thinking about yesterday, tomorrow, and everything in between. Like it's actually here with what I'm doing in the moment. I don't feel the need to check things. I feel like I actually want to put away my phone. Like I don't actually want anything taking me out of the moment. I want to be here. When I'm regulated, I'm more loving. I can have longer hugs with my fiance. I can have longer conversations with my mom. I don't feel like there's anywhere to be rushed off to. I do my best work. I'm more creative. I'm more adventurous. I'm more fun. Like I want to try new things and I want to try things that I'm not good at. Um, I laugh more. I'm I, I'm I'm more understanding. I'm more compassionate. Yeah, I'm just a better version of myself when I'm regulated. Okay. When I'm dysregulated, my chest gets tight. My digestion slows down or becomes non-functional at all, which will typically be pain in my stomach, hard time digesting my food, sometimes throwing up in the past, as you guys have heard. My body becomes very tight. So my back will get tight and I'll be like, oh, I need a massage. My neck will get tight and I will sometimes get headaches as well too. Doesn't happen very often anymore, but that can be it. I start to overthink. So I'm rarely in the moment. I'm constantly like thinking in the background about something that needs to be done or wondering how something's going. I struggle to give up control. So someone will offer to do something for me and I will still want to do it even though I don't need to. It's not a me job anymore, or it would be perfectly fine if they took over it. So I become more controlling. I worry more. So what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? Oh, well, maybe let me redo that. I just can't settle on anything. Um, my knee will bop. That's one where I can tell I'm pretty dysregulated is my knee will bop. And I just struggle to sit still. And again, I'm not as connected. I'm a little bit shorter with the people around me. I don't hug as much. I find more excuses to not do the things that I actually know feel good to me. It's just, yeah, that's how my body communicates to me. Okay. So for you, what I would do is if you haven't done this work before, what I want you to start doing is going through your day and writing some of these things down. Are you overthinking? For another one for me is consuming sugar. That's a big one for me. I know if I'm eating more sugar, I'm more dysregulated. Actually, let me just give you the list that I give my clients. So do you overthink? Are you trying to perfect everything you do before you let it go? Are you overly attached to outcomes or fixated on outcomes? Are you short-tempered? Any physical ailments in the body? Constantly getting sick? Constantly having a knee injury or back injury or acne or a cold? Anything like that? Any addictions to any sort? Vape, porn, weed, alcohol, sugar. That can be another one too. Trouble sleeping, right? Constant dread or doom and gloom, feeling more cynical with your thoughts, not being able to have thoughts that settle down. What else is on that list? Um, Feeling like you have to make decisions now, feeling like things need to be done now, like just any type of urgencies. I have a list of 18 symptoms that executives typically miss that are signs of burnouts commonly amongst them. So I'll actually put that in the show notes and you guys can refer back to those symptoms. But what I want you to do is once you've read that list is you need to start becoming hyper aware of the ones that your body is using to communicate with you. Because if you're those are your body's way of asking for help. That's your nervous system saying, hey, I need help. I need help. Mayday, mayday, mayday. But what most of us have done is we've gone ignoring them. So then we never stop to help it. And that's why we remain disconnected from ourselves because it's like a little person inside going, hey, I need this. Hello, can you give this to me? And you're just going, oh, that's just my stomach problem. Whatever. It's not telling me anything. Wrong. It's telling you a lot. Okay. So the first step in reconnection, the first step in healing burnout is learning to understand the signals of your body. Okay. So again, what I'll do is I will drop that in the show notes for you guys. And I would go through that list and see if you have any of those. Okay, so that's the first lever. One of the biggest struggles for high achievers is they can't tell whether they're burnt out or just overly tired. That's why I created the High Performer Stress Assessment, which will assess exactly what your mind and body are struggling with and what you need to start feeling more balanced, grounded, and happy ASAP. It only takes 2 minutes to complete, and you can find the link in the show notes below. The second lever is once you know the signals of your body, you need to learn how to regulate, okay? So, what regulation means is you are showing your nervous system that it is safe to relax, that it is safe and there's no bear chasing you, okay? There's no actual threat. Because again, as I said earlier, 95% of the threats that our nervous system are picking up aren't actual real threats. Again, it's a email, it's public speaking, it's having to express your feelings, it's having to say no, I can't stay late today. Like all these things feel threatening to the nervous system when your survival strategy for how you've been showing up in the world is just to always to agree and to always overextend and to ignore your needs, right? So anything now that actually listens to your needs is going to feel threatening to the nervous system, okay? So what we need to do is we need to regulate, which means we need to show the nervous system, not tell, okay? That's the first thing, is the language of the nervous system is not words. So when you're trying to think your way to positivity or to regulation, or you're trying to tell yourself to regulate, that doesn't work, okay? You have to show it. The subconscious learns through emotion, through feeling, okay? And your thoughts can't do that for you. They can, but in a very inefficient way, okay? 80% of our emotions and what we consume in the world comes through the body, 20% comes through the mind, okay? And 80% of that information goes body to mind, and 20% of that information goes mind to body. So if you want to change up your state, let's say you're really grumpy and you just want to feel more positive or just more at peace and not as bothered, not as triggered, okay? Can you try and think your way out of grumpiness? Yes. But how many times have you been told just think positive and you're like, fuck off. That's like the hardest thing to do right now. It's the last thing I want to do. Of course I want to think positive. If it was that simple, wouldn't I do it? Right. However, that's because the brain only has 20% of the power there. Where if you're feeling, a little grumpy and you decide to go up and now take a walk, maybe go run around the backyard with your dog or your kids, or maybe go play or sit outside or let the sun hit your face. Guess what? 10 minutes of that versus 10 minutes of trying to think your way into positivity, 10 out of 10 times that action is going to be much more effective. Why? Because you're showing the body action, you're changing up the state, and that 80% is now going to move up into the brain and say, it's not that big of a deal. We got this. Okay? So, the nervous system learns through action. So when we talk about regulation, that means having a specific toolkit of actions that show your nervous system that it's safe, okay? So my recommendation is picking 5 things that you know bring you to the present moment, okay? So for me, this is my list. Walking outside, playing with my dog, Oscar, hugging Thomas, letting the sun hit my face, okay, like feeling the warmth of the sun, and then like dancing, stretching, music, because music makes me dance. I've been a dancer all my life, so even if I'm not talking about like performance, just like even around the kitchen, but just something that's a little bit lighter. So some positive, upbeat music, or even just some stretching. Okay, those 5 things bring me to the present moment. And how do I know that? It's when I do those 5 things, those previous symptoms I just talked about, the tight chest, the digestion, all that stuff, they start to settle. They don't feel so intense anymore. Okay? Now, the goal with regulating practices is consistency. It's not like intensity. Okay? So what I tell my clients is 5 times for 5 minutes a day is more effective than 1 time for 25 minutes. Okay, why? Because we constantly want to show the nervous system that it's safe to come down. It's kind of like a ladder, okay? And so when you're at a heightened space, every time you regulate for 5 minutes, once you're done, you want to check in with yourself and just ask if you even feel 5% better. And if you do, then you've done your job. You've regulated, okay? But what you want to do is you want to consistently bring that down. Okay, or constantly come back to that state. You don't want to just wait till you're like high strung and like completely off the deep end. And now I'm going to go regulate. Because guess what? When you're in that state, it's actually harder. I always tell my clients, I tell them that their regulation breaks during the day are refuels at the gas station. Okay, so if you're a car and you're trying to do this long road trip. Okay, you have two options. You either A, try and push it on one take of gas and get there as fast as you can. That's essentially fight or flight. Or two, find 3 gas stations along the way. Know you're going to stop there. Okay. And will it take you a little longer? Yes. But will you know you're going to get there and have peace of mind that you're going to get there with no issues? Yes. Okay. The problem is most of us have trained our nervous system for urgency only and think that's the only way, where option B in stopping at the gas station is 9 times out of 10 an option for you with whatever project or day you're going through. That we just need to teach the nervous system that plan B is also an effective strategy for you. Actually, it's way more effective. You just need proof of it, okay? But the only way to reinforce proof and get the nervous system to believe you that this way is better is by consistency, okay? Dialing it in and just leaning in for a few weeks to a few months and seeing the difference, okay? So once you've made your list of 5, you're probably not going to start off with 5 minutes of 5 minutes, 5 breaks of 5 minutes a day. It's just when you're first starting, it's going to be too much. So I recommend to my clients twice a day. Once midday, once when you get home from work, okay? And again, it just has to be 5 minutes, but all you're going to do is from that list, you're going to do that, okay? And then once you're done, you're just going to take inventory. Do I feel even 5% or 10% more grounded in my body after? Okay. But again, what's most important here is consistency. So another resource I can put in the show notes, I have something called the 5-minute executive protocol. This is what I give all my clients. And what it does is it gives you a roadmap of the 5-minute interval I give them, what to do in those 5 minutes. And then my recommendation is every week for 4 weeks, you ramp it up. So for week 1, you do it once a day. For week 2, you do it twice a day. For week 3, you do it 3 times a day. For week 4, you do it four times a day. Okay. I will also plug that in the show notes here. But essentially, what you're doing every time is you're showing your nervous system it's safe. That email wasn't actually dangerous. That client meeting actually wasn't dangerous. We're safe. Okay. And again, it sounds silly because in your brain, you're probably like, yeah, it's just an email. I know. But again, the nervous system doesn't learn through the language of knowing or thinking or speaking. It has to come through the language of showing it. So what happens is when you get up from your desk and take a walk outside for 5 minutes, the nervous system goes, oh, well, if she's got time to go outside for 5 minutes, then there must not actually be a bear chasing us. So, okay, maybe we can relax a little bit. That's what happens. That's what the nervous system goes through when you do that. It goes, oh, she's got 5 minutes to sing and dance around like a 13-year-old pop star. I don't know that's coming to mind, but like she's got time to just bop around and sing. Oh, okay. Well, then that meeting must have not actually been threatening to her life. So maybe we can relax a little bit more. That's what the nervous system is interpreting when you take time to regulate and put these moments into play. Okay. And then that wall I was talking about earlier that goes up when you're dysregulated, guess what? That wall starts to just come down a little bit and come out a little bit because it's realizing it doesn't need to protect itself so much, that there's actually not real threats or danger around you. Okay. So that's step 2. Okay. Now, step 3 is the piece that kind of brings us all together. Okay. And step 3 is what we call disconfirming experiences. So once you've learned the signals of your body, you know how to really understand that. And then once you've started to put into play consistent regulating practices and you start to really feel, oh, I'm dysregulated. Oh, I'm regulated. Oh, I'm dysregulated. Oh, I'm regulated. And you really start to understand the language of that stress system and how it's communicating to you. Number 3 is what we call disconfirming experiences, which means curating new experiences to show your nervous system that it doesn't have to interpret that as a threat anymore. Okay? That doing this or saying this or showing up this way is actually safe for you. Okay? So let's use an example of leaving work early. Okay? Maybe you, let's say the office actually closes at 5 and you've been working till 7 o'clock every night. Okay. I have clients that work till 9, 10 o'clock every night. It's wild, but let's just say you're working till 7 o'clock every night. Okay. And so let's actually go through the 3 steps and how this would play out. So we're working till 7 o'clock every night. How do you know that it's dysregulating to you? Well, you barely eat throughout the day. So you skip breakfast. When you do eat, it's kind of hard to eat. You're living off carbs and sugar, don't have a really healthy diet, and you often get hangry. So you don't eat till you actually feel like you need to eat. And then you go into this very unruly, grumpy state. You're having trouble sleeping at night. You're waking up in the middle of the night thinking about work and what you missed and what needs to get done. The minute someone asks you to do something, you always say yes, and you have a hard time delegating or letting other people help you. You wake up every morning with that sense of dread. Your chest feels heavy. Your back is often aching. You get lots of headaches, okay? These are the signs that your body is dysregulated, and a lot of this is happening because you're staying late at work, okay? That's one aspect of it. So, now, if I told you, well, just leave at 5, it's not the big deal, just leave. You're going to be like, yeah, okay, if it was that simple, I would have been doing it already. Okay? So now that we understand the signals of our body and that it's communicating that, hey, this isn't in alignment with how we want to show up at work anymore. Now we go to step 2, which means I need to create regulation in my body, okay? Because if I'm asking you to leave 2 hours every day at night, if you can't even get up and regulate for 5 minutes twice a day, there's no way you're going to leave 2 hours work early. Okay? So we need to teach the body in small doses and steps that it's safe to just get up from my desk and stop working. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to start with twice a day, getting up from your desk for 5 minutes and doing one of your regulating exercises. Okay, and again, so what does this do? It allows your nervous system to see that, oh, we don't have to be in fight or flight all day. We don't have to think there's a constant bear chasing us. Okay, so it can come down just a little bit, right? That whatever those symptoms were can just come down ever so slightly. Okay, so it creates safety in the body. And then what that's also reinforcing is it's safe for me to take a break. Just because I take a break doesn't mean the world's going to end or something's going to catch on fire or someone's, you know what I mean? Like that's not going to happen just because I got up from my desk for 5 minutes, okay? So it's regulating to the nervous system, and it's reinforcing to the nervous system and the subconscious that it's safe to stop working for even 5 minutes, okay? So you're going to do that. You're going to do that once a day, move up to twice a day, move up to 3 times a day, okay? Once that feels like you're in a better flow of that and you're starting to see the effects, because you will, by the way, just 1 week of that, I promise you, all my clients come back and go, wow, that actually felt really good. Every time I came back to my desk, I could work faster. I was thinking clearer. I was more level-headed. You will feel the difference, okay? So now step 3 is, okay, so now we want to try a disconfirming experience. So the office closes at 5. We usually stay till 7. Let's just try again a baby step of let's just try leaving at 6:30. Okay? Not in a regulated conscious state. You and I know 30 minutes isn't, again, it's okay to do that. The whole office has been gone for 2 hours. So now our disconfirming experience is we're going to leave 30 minutes early. And we're not going to do it every day. We're going to try it maybe once this week or twice this week. We're going to try and leave 30 minutes early. Okay? And what's going to happen is when you go to leave, so what I would recommend is doing one of your regulating exercises before you leave the office. Okay? Leave, because that's going to be a stretch for your nervous system. Your nervous system is going to go, oh my God, why did we leave? I forgot to do this. What about this email? You're going to get in your car and you're going to think of all the reasons you should stay, because the nervous system is going, we don't do this. The way I've kept you safe for the past 5 years is by staying at work till 7. So I'm going to try and do everything I can to convince you to stay till 7. Okay? Even though your boss isn't even asking you to stay till 7 anymore, you're just the one doing it. Okay? So First off, expect that to happen. You can expect to feel highly uncomfortable when you go to do this disconfirming experience, okay? But that's when you have to show, not tell your nervous system that it's safe to do this. So when you go to leave and it's yap, 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 yap in the back about how you have to stay, you need to show your nervous system. So you need to go, okay, I am going to go take my 5-minute walk. I'm going to come just a little bit down into regulation. I'm going to leave the office at 6:30. And once I get home, I'm going to regulate again. Okay. You need to create a regulation sandwich. Okay. So that regulation sandwich is going to allow the nervous system, because it's going to spike. You're going to regulate, you're going to be decent. You're going to spike into dysregulation. And then that end piece of regulation, that last step, is what's going to allow the nervous system to come back down, okay? Because what happens with most of us is we do something hard and different, so you do that. But then because you never regulate to bring it back down, you stay up there. And then that burns so much energy, it becomes highly ineffective to just keep trying new things. And that's why growth feels unsustainable long term, is because you're not supporting the body as it goes through these growing moments, okay? If you're a high achiever, you probably feel the exhaustion that comes with always pushing and carrying the load. And here's the honest truth. Burnout doesn't fix itself by working harder or pushing more. You're not meant to just survive your success. You're someone who leads with impact and depth and intention, and you deserve to feel calm and connected while doing it. So imagine showing up present for your work and your personal relationships, feeling calm and grounded instead of constantly stretched. If that's what you want, this is exactly what we do in the Higher Alignment program. Book your assessment call through the link in the show notes, and let's get you back to balance and back to feeling like yourself again. So when you go to have your disconfirming experience of leaving at 6:30, you need to sandwich that new choice with regulation. And again, so what that does is it shows the nervous system, okay, there's no bear. Oh, it feels like a bear. Oh, okay, there's no bear. That's what it's doing, right? And so then what happens the next time it goes, the nervous system goes, oh, okay, well, I still feel a little uncomfortable, but the last time we did this, the bear actually didn't end up killing us. We ended up being okay. So maybe I can try it again. And then the more you do this, the easier it gets. And then pretty soon it becomes your new normal. Okay, it becomes a new standard way of living. And guess what? Once you've done that, then your baseline for what is quote unquote dangerous or unsafe raises, right? So now instead of leaving at 7 o'clock being the norm, leaving at 6 o'clock becomes the norm. And you actually feel really good about it. And then guess what? You get a little bit of your other part of your life back now. Now you have an extra hour every day to do whatever you want with it, whether that be giving more time to your friends and family or taking time for yourself to go walk in nature. Now you've freed up more time to do more of what's actually in alignment with you, right? These are the trade-offs, right? But, if I'm being honest with what I see with a lot of my clientele is people who are established, people who've already been working hard for 10, 20, 30 years are still operating with a productivity strategy the same as when they were first starting out in their career. And that's where the disconnect for them exists, is you're a senior level executive in your 40s or 50s and you're still grinding it out like you're in your 20s. And yeah, can that maybe be looked at as admirable? Maybe. But if you're an executive now in your 30s or 40s, you're in that position because you have more wisdom, you have more knowledge, you have more efficiency on how to get the job done. But if you're still out here grinding like you're 20 years old, you're probably the bottleneck in your business right now, because you're probably not delegating enough. You're probably still showing up at the office too much. And those things now are trading off because now you're not doing your high level thinking. If you're in a leadership position, you're in that position to think big picture. You're not in that position to be in the trenches with everyone else because you're paid to do a certain job. There are certain things that you can only do, and there are a lot of jobs that your team can do, right? But again, what I see is a lot of high-level people still using strategies that are decades years old for that point in their life, trying to apply it to a completely different situation in their life now. And that's where the inefficiency lies. Okay. So what I work with a lot of my executives is this. Okay. So how do we adjust our productivity strategy to actually match our current situation? And it's often things like this: leaving a little bit earlier, right? Because I was just talking with another client about this on the weekend. Like, if you really looked at all the things you had to get done in a day, 9 times out of 10, you don't need 10 hours to get it done. But because you're running inefficiently, which is what happens when you're burnt out, what's something that only needs 15% of your energy is now consuming 30-40% of it because the machine's not running effectively. So you're wasting time, you're leaking energy because you're disconnected. Again, that gap, right? It's not an efficient machine. So as we, again, back to the disconfirming experiences, as we do this more and you have more regulation and you have more moments of safety in your body, which essentially means you become more present in your life, things are going to become a lot clearer as to what actually is in alignment with how you want to show up in the world, with how you want to show up at work, with how you want to show up with your family. These things are going to start uncovering themselves to you. And then what you're also going to get a feeling and a glimpse of is like, wow, this is actually what it feels like to be regulated in my body. This is what I feel like when I'm present. This is what I feel like when I'm free. And you're going to want more of that. Because all of us want more of that. None of us like living in this overwhelmed, anxious state. Of course we don't. But when that's all you've been living in for so long, you don't know any different, right? But when you start to get a taste of that, your nervous system is going to want more and more and more. And then guess what? That's when the magic starts to happen. Because you started to create safety internally, your outer world is now going to shift to match more of what you want. Okay? I talked about in the last episode, I live out in the country now by a lake. Okay? I used to live downtown in the city because I needed noise around me. Now it is so quiet at night. Like, I walk outside, I don't have to see a car for 20 minutes because it's not busy out here, right? But again, I'm able to create this more peaceful environment to live in because I've felt more peace internally. If I was still chaos, fight or flight, Mintu all day long, I would have came out here and I'd be like, nope, I gotta go. And I would have blown up my relationship. I would have sabotaged this beautiful environment I'm living in because I didn't have the capacity to hold this level of peace inside. Right? So that's why disconfirming experiences are so important, because they allow you to experience glimpses of what you want your life actually to look like, and tell your nervous system that it's safe to have these things. It's safe to rest. It's safe to have fun on the weekends. It's safe to have evenings with your friends and family. It's safe to sleep for 8 hours a night without waking up. It's safe to wake up in the morning and feel grateful for the life you're living instead of feeling like you have to run scared in order to be worth something. It's safe to feel content in just having a healthy body and loving relationships and a nice roof over your head. It's safe to say, hey, maybe I don't want to chase this career for the rest of my life and maybe I want to make a career change. It's safe to say, hey, I actually want to take off to Vietnam for a month and travel with my fiance. It's safe to say, maybe it's time to start having kids or get married or, just take on a new hobby. It's safe to do these things. And at the end of the day, that's all we want. There's very few people in the world who actually want to just make their business their sole legacy in life. I think there's very, 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 very few of those people in the world. I think most people just want to have a comfortable living. They want freedom to choose the things they want in life. But we all just want to be loved, and we want to have fun, and we want to laugh, and we want to be adventurous and experience things and create great memories. That's what we all want. And it's safe to do those things, okay? But if you've been feeling like you haven't been able to experience that for so long, it's not because it's not available to you. It's because internally, your nervous system doesn't feel safe to experience those. And so this is the basics of getting there, of showing it that, hey, I'm allowed to have more freedom. I'm allowed to have more joy. I'm allowed to experience more love in my life. I'm allowed to have more abundance. I can. But if you're feeling stuck in any area of your life right now, it is a nervous system capacity issue. Okay. And, one more thing I'll say is this work is so important to do in community and in relationship. I just hired another nervous system coach for myself. I always have a coach on the go, by the way, whether it's a business coach, a health coach, a nervous system coach, a spiritual coach. I always have someone in my corner supporting me through this journey because we all have blind spots. And to me, it's like, I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I just need someone to support me and be in my corner and help point these out faster to me. So I'm always willing to invest in myself in this department. I've always been wired that way. But we need community. We need other people because when it comes to the nervous system, we find safety and connection for humans. And yeah, you can do it by yourself if you want to, but I've been there and it's lonely. Like honestly, it's lonely. Even if you have a partner, I have a wonderful partner. He's incredible. And I still have a nervous system coach because also I don't want him to ever feel like it's his responsibility to I don't want him to ever to feel like he has to be my coach. He can co-regulate with me. He can love me and support me, but my coach is my coach. You know what I mean? And she's here to help me do that stuff. So it's really important to have people who've either done it already supporting you along the way or someone that's just a really great supportive safety for you. Ideally, you're getting both in the practitioner, right? But that's also a really important piece to this is having someone who's walked the walk alongside with you the way. And that's something I'm just super, 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 super grateful I get to do with my clients because it's the most fulfilling thing ever. So here's the path to healing your burnout, to becoming more connected, to feeling more aligned in your life, to having a life that actually not just looks good on paper, it feels good on paper. 1, becoming highly aware of the signals and how your nervous system communicates to you in your body. 2, learning how to regulate when those signals come up, not waiting till you're completely broken down on the side of the road, but staying on top of it so that you get even more in tune with your system and what it needs. You can anticipate its needs before it's screaming for help. And 3, disconfirming experiences. As you learn to create safety in your body, you can expand what your nervous system views as safe. And when you do that, this is how you attract the life that feels most aligned with you, the life that actually feels good. Okay? So there's going to be some resources for you in the show notes. Please use those. And of course, if you've been listening to this and you're ready, like, I'm here. I'm here for people who want to do this work, for high achievers, for executives who already are highly aware of what's going on. They just need someone to get them over the other side. Okay? And I'm telling you guys now, life, there's so much available for all of us, even me with the life I'm living now. I still know there's another level. And that just means way more freedom, way more abundance, way more love, way more joy. And I promise you, if you just commit to finding a way to get there, it'll happen for you too.